a patient, when you head to a hospital for an operation, the absolute last thing on your mind is what happens to the clean and unused medical supplies associated with your surgery. Wasn't something I'd thought about either, until I got a job at a hospital. That's where I learnt that modern, developed hospitals are throwing away essential medical supplies every day. These are the types of supplies that are so dramatically lacking in underdeveloped countries, it's contributing to people dying every day. I was shocked. Then I was outraged. I was working as a theatre nurse at the time. The nurses who are responsible for setting up all the necessary instrumentation and equipment for surgery, as well as working with the surgeon during the procedures themselves. You would have seen them on the medical TV shows. The surgeon says scalpel, and the theatre nurse passes it swiftly and efficiently. Now, for non-medical folks, I should start by telling you that the basics you need to complete a surgery come in a sealed, sterile surgical pack, and they include items such as the gowns, drapes, bandages, syringes, scalpels, and more. In my time as a theatre nurse, it was not uncommon for me to see perfectly good and unused medical equipment and supplies being thrown into the bin. This happened for a range of reasons. The main one was stringent policies about sterility. A small tear in the outside package was enough to see the whole kit thrown away. And of course, it sounds both logical and completely reasonable. You want rigorous standards when it comes to things being sterile, and we also want our hospitals to be fast and efficient. If the pack's not sterile, grab a new one. The issue isn't choosing not to use it for surgery here. The issue is throwing it away. And remember, people in under-resourced countries are dying, and we could supply them with items necessary for procedures, surgeries, and after-surgical care that could potentially save their lives using the contents of our bin. The day came when I realised that I could not stand by any longer. We were doing hip surgeries, and we threw away 3 complete packs in one day. The first pack was thrown away in its entirety because of a small nick in the outside package. The second pack was thrown away because a patient's surgery was cancelled. The pack had been opened, so it was no longer considered sterile. The third pack, that was the one that broke me. We'd opened the surgical pack, laid out all the instruments and equipment, and even scrubbed up for the surgery. That's when it happened. We heard the unmistakable buzzing noise that instills fear into the heart of any theatre nurse. A fly had gotten into the operating theatre, rendering it unclean. My heart sank as I watched the entire surgery stripped down. Every drape, gown, glove, scalpel, and bandage shoved deep into the trash bin. I wondered how doctors and nurses in countries with little to no medical supplies would feel if they saw it. And I wondered how everyday patients throughout the hospitals here would feel if they knew that discarded surgical supplies associated with their surgery could have saved lives overseas, had we not thrown them away. I thought, surely, somebody has to be working on solving this medical supply waste issue. I just had to find them. But nobody was. If I wanted it fixed, it was going to need to be me. I was going to gather the supplies here and redistribute them to countries in need. I thought once I shared with the hospital administrators that we could save lives with our garbage and also reduce our waste at the same time, they would race to change policies to help us change the world. That didn't happen. I thought doctors and nurses and aid organisations and foreign affairs agencies would be falling all over themselves to help us save our supplies and ship them to countries in need. That didn't happen either. At least, not in the first instance. But I was persistent. Some would probably say annoying. I championed the idea relentlessly until eventually some unit-level managers said yes. To be honest, I think it was easier for them to let me try than it was to deal with my incessant requests. And I think some thought I would fail and that would be the end of it. But I didn't. There was enough supportive nurses on board to help me gather the clean and usable medical supplies here that met our strict standards. And then a branch of the Rotary called Donations in Kind came on board. They helped us source supply requirements for hospitals in need and allowed our suppliers to ship a ride on their educational supply runs they sent to under-resourced schools in developing countries. We started putting clean collection bins into hospitals, and once we landed our first big hospital, more followed. It wasn't uncommon for us to collect a full wheelie bin of clean and usable medical supplies from a single hospital every 2 days. The impact we're having is life-changing. The first place we stopped was a maternity clinic in Papua New Guinea. This is a country where 580 mothers die in childbirth each year. Now, when I say maternity clinic, I mean they had a building, they had staff, but no real medical supplies there. 0. So we fixed that and got them up and running. We recently sent supplies to Tonga after their earthquake and Fiji after their COVID crisis. We also support causes here at home in Australia when the need arises. In 2020, we sent our supplies to a wildlife hospital on Kangaroo Island to help care for the animals that had suffered burns in the bushfires. The overwhelming majority of hospitals in the developed world continue to throw away their clean and usable medical supplies every day. One of the reasons that this wasteful and horrendous practice has been able to go on for so long is that everyday people, like you, have no idea that this waste is happening. And if I'd not been standing in that operating theatre to see it firsthand, I would not have known about it either. My goal is to make sure that everybody knows what's happening with the clean medical waste in our hospital system. And my greatest wish is that it infuriates you as much as it does me and inspires you to take action. Whether you're a policymaker, a hospital administrator, a nurse, a doctor, or a patient who has gone or will go in for surgery at some time in the future. There's so many things we don't have the power to do anything about. This is not one of them.